All right, viewers, there's breaking news coming in on the broadcast as we speak. President Trump's quid pro quo here. That's what it looks like, that President Trump may be hosting the Pakistani army chief because he has nominated the president for the Nobel Peace Prize for preventing a nuclear war between India and Pakistan. This is the latest some bit of information that's coming in right now. Let's quickly get in Shiv Arur, my colleague who's joining us for more on this. Shiv, this looks like a case of a transactional Trump responding to a quid pro quo that puts him in probably the best light possible.
For a U.S. president that loves nothing more than himself and any actions that make him look a little better, a U.S. president that has broken with tradition by taking credit for global events that he had, little or nothing to actually do with directly. This is actually a signature Donald Trump, isn't it, Gauri? And I just want to read out what Anna Kelly, the White House spokesperson, has said. President Trump will host Field Marshal Munir, General Field Marshal Munir, after he called the president to be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for preventing a nuclear war between India and Pakistan. This is very much businessman Trump. I don't want to overinterpret what this limited statement says, but this is transactional Trump. This is him not only acknowledging that he can have lunch with someone who has made him feel good by nominating him for the Nobel Peace Prize, but there are, of course, also geopolitical reasons that you and I both know about for which the U.S. president is hosting General Asim Munir for this lunch. But for this little statement to come out right now where the White House spokesperson is saying it's after Asim Munir nominated or called for the nomination of President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, it really only emphasizes, amplifies and underscores the fact that President Trump, with all his actions, and you've reported this quite extensively on NDTV World, Gauri, that President Trump, with his so far failed interventions in Ukraine, his attempt to take credit between India and Pakistan, his attempt to garner credit for other conflicts that have been happening in the world, he may actually be aiming for something like a Nobel Peace Prize and to appear larger than life and to create a kind of statesman-like legacy as an international leader. So if this is really what compelled President Trump to open his schedule and reserve time for lunch with the visiting general from Pakistan, I honestly don't know what to say.
Shiv, if I can think even for 1 second like President Trump, what would be going in his mind is that Obama got one, so there's no reason why he shouldn't get one as well. And it looks like the Pakistani army chief just played well into those I wouldn't say insecurities, but sensibilities that define Donald Trump to a large extent. It also underscores that how this transactional Trump administration needs to be viewed at and needs to be dealt with by all large countries, including India.
Very true. There is a very deep, almost clinical, business-like quality to the manner in which President Trump actually does business. That transactional quality has, what admirers of Trump call, there is a purity to the way he deals with things because, it brings a sense of transparency. And credit where it's due. We all have our views on Pakistan, but Pakistani generals, their army, their ISI, their politicians have been past masters at pulling the wool over American eyes, one, but also knowing how to butter up the Americans. And I think they've sized up Donald Trump really, really well. If this is the strategy to get a seat at a table, literally in this case, at a lunch table with the president, which is by applauding him and creating this aura of admiration for him by calling for a nomination of the Nobel Peace Prize, credit should be given where it's due. This is Pakistan knowing precisely what will bring a smile to the US president's face. This is Pakistan knowing precisely, what will capture Donald Trump's attention at a time like this. This is also Pakistan that is clearly aware of the value it brings to the table, regionally speaking, in the context of what's happening between Iran and Israel. But it is this little X factor, a nomination call for the Nobel Peace Prize, knowing full well how much this would please the US president who loves himself so much that will provide that final push towards actual handshake at the White House. And that's what's happening now.
Indeed, that's what is happening. And most of Donald Trump's Western allies would be wondering, is this why he cut short his G7 summit and went back? Because he said it was most certainly not for Iran-Israel. So was it for this lunch meeting with Asim Munir? One wonders. But, Shiv, this brings us to talk in terms of how Pakistanis have been able to sort of identify that weak or raw nerve, so to say, in the Trump administration and maneuver that. This is the same Trump who just 5 years back in his earlier term did say that here was a Pakistan who looted us for billions and billions of dollars and we didn't get anything in return, and that war on terror did not have any impact or positive result for us whatsoever. And 5 years later, they managed to touch that raw nerve of his, and here he is hosting Asim Munir. And one needs to now just wait and watch how it would play out going forward.
There's a 2011 tweet of Trump's where he is bashing Pakistan for hosting Osama bin Laden that people have put out on social media right now as a kind of a contrast to the manner in which he's feting, felicitating and hosting the Pakistan army chief right now. But Gauri, I think the truth of the matter is no one typifies and embodies the phrase no permanent friends or enemies than Trump himself. Whether it is as the US president, where he has befriended those who are considered to be traditional American enemies like Vladimir Putin, or whether it is even during his business career and his transition into domestic politics in the United States, where many of the Democrats who are actually business partners and friends of his suddenly became his political rivals, and he very smoothly made that transition. This is a man who shapeshifts loyalties. This is a man who has brought his own sort of brand of the alternate version of the truth. The post-fact Trump era is one where, the things that you and I perhaps believe in don't really, stand anymore. So I don't think he gives a damn about what anyone thinks by way of judging his priorities or judging his loyalties, because he has the confidence of a large mandate in an election and I think an over-the-top personality anyway that has been backed by a successful business empire, that he believes he can do exactly what he wants to and not really bother about international political or geopolitical niceties. And I think this little statement from the White House and the manner in which he exited the G7, even if that does have a connection with that, really stands for it.
Absolutely, Shiv. I'm going to leave it there. Really appreciate you joining us live on that story. And viewers, I'm going to play out that soundbite of Donald Trump, who spoke a couple of hours back after he spoke with Prime Minister Modi on, the whole saga around credit with regard to the Operation Sindoor, how it ended. Prime Minister Modi set the record straight in his conversation, 35-minute conversation with Donald Trump. But I want to play out that soundbite of President Trump a short while back because it's important, especially in the context of how Asim Munir, as we've been talking, has been able to touch that raw nerve to be able to extract some sort of concessions for Pakistan and for himself. Listen in.
Well, I stopped a war between Pakistan. I love Pakistan. I think Modi is a fantastic man. I spoke to him last night. We're going to make a trade deal with Modi of India. But I stopped the war between Pakistan and India. This man was extremely influential in stopping it from the Pakistan side, Modi from the India side, and others. And they were going at it, and they're both nuclear countries. I got it stopped. I don't think I had one story. Did I have one story written about it? I stopped a war between two major nations, major nuclear nations. I don't think I had a story written about it, but that's okay. You know why? The people know. The people know.
That, of course, was Donald Trump speaking about how that entire issue regarding, Operation Sindoor, how it ended, something that Prime Minister Modi set the record straight with clearly, and that is Donald Trump in that soundbite. I want to now get in Lalit Jha, a senior reporter in the White House. He's been reporting from Washington, D.C. for a very long time. Lalit, you've earlier with the PTI. You've been reporting from Washington, D.C. for almost 30 years now. Many would see that this is classic Pakistan, being able to get that, identify that one weak nerve within the White House, more so in the Trump administration, and possibly extract concessions for themselves. How do you read this this offer that Pakistanis put forth on the table something that was too good for Trump to say no to?
You look, the leadership of Pakistan, or especially their army chief, are always looking for a short-term play, and that's what has happened. They know how to play to the system. Galway in the US, they have done it for the short-term purposes. For the long-term, India has stood its ground. India has told the US and other countries, whoever have come to talk to it, that we cannot talk to Pakistan unless they start taking action against terrorists. And this is the message what President Trump intends to convey to Pakistani army chief, who is in fact the de facto ruler, that if you want to have peace in the region, I helped you once, saved you from India, but we cannot be saving you again and again. You need to stop. You need to stop taking actions. You need to stop supporting terrorists and terrorist activity. The state sponsor of terrorism has to come to end. That's one point. Other point could be about Pakistan can help some kind of assistance while US plans its military actions along with Israel in Iraq. And the third important factor is here to create a wedge between or trust deficit between China and Pakistan, because not regular that a non head of the state being invited by the White House for a dinner for a lunch.
But this would have really caught many in the administration off guard, simply because while at one end this may look like a great offer as far as Donald Trump personally is concerned, here is a president who's mainstreaming the whole proposition of meeting the army chief instead of an elected government. No matter how fallacious the election machinery in Pakistan may be, the fact that he's choosing to meet the army chief further undermines the legitimacy of Shahbaz Sharif's government, doesn't it? So all those sensitivities, those important aspects are something that Donald Trump is unlikely to, in fact, even weigh in the backdrop of the offer or the proposal that is put forth by Asim Munir on the table.
Definitely, by inviting him to the White House and having a luncheon with him in the cabinet room, his status has been elevated. But he's a practical person. He knows that the democratically elected government or the government that is the prime minister right now, he is not the actual ruler. The power flows from the office of the army chief, and that's what he's talking about. And he's trying to communicate, make deals to the person who can provide him the deals, right? Who can deliver for him. The Pakistani prime minister, if he's invited, I don't think no one can be sure that he will be able to deliver it for President Trump. So he's approached the right person to get his things done.
Okay. Final question, Lalitcha, I want to ask you this is, this entire lunch meeting looks all about, at this stage, about the possibility of elevation of Donald Trump as a leader, as a statesman, as the president, more than furthering the Trump administration's view in terms of how they want to address the Middle East and how important Pakistan may be in that game plan, in that roadmap. Are we reading it correct?
Look, if you look at the U.S. perspective, U.S. vision of President Trump's vision of its global policy, Pakistan is a small part of, very, very small part, tiny part of it, right? And at this point of time, it might play some important role when it comes to Iran. And Pakistan, as you know, has been an opportunistic country. It has always tried to get opportunity from such incidents that happens. But I don't think so it's going to be beneficial to Pakistan as a country in the long term. It might be beneficial to the army chief in the short term.
Right, I'm going to leave it there. Lalitcha joining us live from Washington, D.C. on this prick story that's come in right now, which is that peace prize for ending the Indo-Pak war is what the Pakistanis have offered for Donald Trump. But the Nobel Prize, that is something that would be coveted by Donald Trump, if for nothing else, for the fact that he feels that he's been doing such good work and not being acknowledged for it. All right, let's get in Dr. Tara Kartha, who's with us on this, and Daniel Block as well, and we have Veena Sikri as well on this. Now, we speak at a time when this meeting is going to take place shortly. While we may talk about what could have finally led to this meeting actually taking place, whether it was Trump's interests or it was the Trump administration's interests in terms of Middle East. Either way, this meeting is important. It is significant. Tara Katha, let me start with you. What would be your expectations out of the Asim Munir Donald Trump meeting?
But I think the offer of a peace prize was politically very smart. I mean, let's face it, it was a nice kind of touch by Asim Munir. But I was just harking back, to 1959 when Ayub Khan went and called on President Eisenhower. And if you look at the readout, it is identical to what is going on now. They talk of, he kind of talks of President Eisenhower as the leader of the free world. He's a dictator, but he's talking to President Eisenhower. He gets a military aid. He talks about Kashmir. He talks about Indus Water Treaty. He talks about a threat of communism. And then he gives the US a base for the flights of the U-2 flights in Peshawar. So this is action replay. I think someone should put a kind of an action replay kind of thing inside the White House so that the presidents can see for themselves how often the same thing happens again and again and again. Pakistan plays the Americans very well. You have to give them credit. You saw the Prime Minister, who of course nobody, poor thing, no one bothers about him. He was like, thank you to the President of the United States, while we are saying you had no role to play. So it's a very tricky situation. I think we should say that, hey, you need a peace prize for having restrained Pakistan. That's great. Go ahead with it. We did what we had to do ourselves because Pakistan came to us. And that is exactly what everybody has been saying. And finally, now, Prime Minister Modi has said that to Donald Trump. But peace prize for restraining Pakistan, why not?
Indeed. Daniel Block, how do you read this meeting that will take place? The context of that, we're telling you right here to our viewers right now on the broadcast tuning in. The context of the Asim Munir Donald Trump meeting may be not just about the Middle East roadmap, about how useful Pakistan may be for the administration's roadmap for the Middle East, but how useful Asim Munir is right now to further Donald Trump's, for want of a better word, ego, given the fact that a Nobel may be in the offing or at least on the offer here. Daniel, how do you respond to these reports coming in? As I said, putting the context of the meeting and also the significance of it, which is set to begin soon.
I think there are a few things going on here. The first, obviously, is Pakistan does border Iran. And so there may be some strategic interests that the two parties want to discuss related to that. Of course, I don't think that would by itself explain a meeting between the army chief and Trump, but it is worth noting that that's going on. Likewise, I think somebody earlier mentioned China. China and Pakistan have obviously drawn closer. The United States would prefer to see Pakistan not slip entirely into China's camp, and I think Pakistan likewise wants to maintain some sort of ties with the United States. And so that's another factor. But then in terms of this, I think a lot of it does have to do with ego and flattery. And one element of that, as we've been talking about, is the Nobel Peace Prize nomination. Trump has made no secret of the fact that he'd love to win a Nobel Peace Prize. And so that's a great way to get his attention and get on his good side. The other is just in terms of, India and Pakistan and the conflict between the two. The Indian government said that the United States played very little to no role in negotiating the peace between those two parties. Pakistan thanked the United States. In Washington, it was clear that the United States did have conversations with both parties. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Trump was miffed that India said that the United States wasn't really involved, that it was kind of entirely a bilateral process. But also it's in Pakistan's interest, right, to drag the United States and have the United States play a part in whatever is going on between India and Pakistan.